Welcome to our Sustainable New Year webinar. Before I get started, can somebody confirm that you can hear me, that you can see the screen, and that everything is good to go? I'll just wait to get confirmation. We had, if you've joined on some of our other webinars before, some technical errors. And so I just want to make sure that it sounds good. Maybe you could, if somebody could put in the question box if you can hear me and see me before I get started. Okay, somebody said they can't hear me. Let me see. It says, can somebody else say if they can hear me or not? My boss says she can't hear me, but maybe it's just on her end. You could put it in the questions bar. Okay. All right. Can somebody hear me? Does it sound good? Okay, great. I got confirmation that you guys can hear me. Amazing. Yay. Okay, welcome to our Sustainable New Year webinar. Thank you guys for joining me. My name is Maya Hammond. I'm the Outreach Programs Administrator here at SWACO. So I'm going to go over quickly, if you've never used this platform before, we have two features for you to use. So you're muted. I can't see you. I can't hear you. But you can ask questions through this little question bar. And then also everything I talk about in these slides will be downloadable as handouts. And so we have this handout icon that you can download them. And if you're having any issues with this, don't worry, just email me and I'm happy to attach in the email all of the handouts. So just a quick overview of who we are. SWACO. SWACO is an acronym for the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio. So we are one of the solid waste districts here for Ohio. Our jurisdiction is Franklin County. And that means that our job is to try to keep as many resources out of the landfill as possible and circulating so that we can reuse them and to protect the life of our landfill. So we own and operate the landfill here in Franklin County as a solid waste district. And that landfill is an asset for us. We want it to be there for the things that we need it for, but not everything needs to go there. So we have programs to try to keep those resources safe. So just a couple things that we do. We have recycling drop-off locations for people that don't have access to recycling. Maybe they live in an apartment complex or it's not yet in their community. We have grant programs for anything waste diversion related. So recycling containers or special programs. We will help schools and businesses start up their recycling or composting programs. We do household hazardous waste recycling and collection, yard waste collection, curbside for composting. And then we also do special event collection, like holiday lights, pumpkins, yard signs. We do tours of the landfill, and then we have a program for events or festivals. They can borrow it for free. They can rent our recycling containers. I have a picture of them here. So that's just an overview of some of the things that we do here at SWACO, but I'm just going to talk about maybe it's one of your New Year's resolutions to try and be more sustainable. So I hope my notifications don't make any noise, but so I just want to remind people that progress does not equal perfection. So it doesn't mean, just because you want to be more sustainable doesn't mean that you have to commit to being completely perfect. Just anything that you can do is going to help. And then sustainability feels good for you, and then it's also helping others. And just a reminder, it's one step at a time. So it is not all or nothing. So I just want to go over kind of the 3 R's and why we do them. So the 3 R's are reduce, reuse, recycle, and they are in that order for that reason. So the best thing you can do first is reduce the consumption of a resource. And then if you can't reuse something, if you can't reduce the consumption of that item, then you want to try to reuse it as much as possible. And then finally, if you can't reuse it, then you want to recycle it. We want to avoid the mindset of buying things just with the thought of, oh, well, I can recycle it. It's better to first see if we can avoid using that item and reuse it first. So why we conserve our resources is everything we need comes from the earth. So like this laptop, my shirt, the table, they all came from resources that we dug up from the ground. So the less that we reuse what we have already dug up from the ground, the more that we have to take from the natural environment, cut down trees, mine into mountains and things like that. And then the more that we take from the environment, the less the environment is able to produce what we need in the future. So when we take things at a faster rate that they can reproduce themselves, we're going to get ourselves into some trouble. So it's best to conserve our resources. So the first thing you can do, I talked about, is reduce. So ask yourself these questions before you buy something new. So of course we need to buy new things. I buy new things, but do it very consciously and kind of with value for what it took to make that thing. So you can ask yourself, do I need this item? Does my need for this item reasonably justify the waste? So an example I have is maybe if you're throwing a party and you're organizing the decorations, do the centerpieces need to be something that would only work for that event? So say it's a graduation party. Does it need to say like the year or something? Because then after that, you wouldn't be able to reuse that or likely recycle it. But maybe instead you could use like flowers that are the school's themed color, and those could be composted. You could put them in mason jars that could be reused event after event. So we just want to try to think about, yes, maybe something is fun, but is it really worth it? Is it really going to make me that happy to justify the waste, or is there something else I could do that would make me just as happy? And then also asking yourself, is there a reusable option for this item instead of the disposable? So say like Swiffer makes the disposable mop pads. Could you switch to a washable mop pad instead of just throwing one away each time you use it? And then also, if you're looking for something new, is there someone you know who already owns it you could borrow it from, or you could buy it from them? And then also, could you thrift this item or find it online? So sometimes I'll be browsing online and I'll see something like a new clothing item or something trendy that I want. I check online thrift stores first. My favorite is Mercari or Facebook Marketplace, because there's likely somebody else that already bought that item that maybe decided they didn't want it anymore or didn't fit right, and I could just get it from them. And that's where I've gotten a lot of things that I really love, and I save money. So here's some ideas for kind of reducing your waste. So again, recycling is wonderful, but reducing is best. This is my favorite one. So a lot of people grew up just using paper towels for everything. But we want to remind you that we can use washable paper towels or cloths instead. And so I have a picture example here. This is what I use in my house. I have a basket for the clean and a basket for the dirty. And I make it super easy on myself. I don't fold the paper towels. I don't roll them back up. The cloths, like they're washable paper towels, I just keep them loose in the basket. And then also so I use them for cleaning up basic spills, spill something on the counter or eating, or washable mops. I still have paper towels. I have dogs, so sometimes you need paper towels for things. But for a lot of things, just napkins or wiping the counter, a washable paper towel will work just fine. Mine are cute. They have strawberries on them, so you can pick something that matches your kitchen theme. The next tip is to say no to disposable cutlery, sauce packets, bags for takeout. When I go to my favorite sushi place, I tell them I don't need chopsticks or wasabi or ginger or soy sauce or the little soy sauce dishes they like to give you, or the napkins, because I'm just going to take my sushi home and eat it and have everything there that I would need. Also, when you're going somewhere, specify that you're dining in so that they give you your food on a tray instead of in a bag. I've been places where they default putting your food in a bag. So just like to specify that you'd want it for here, or like a coffee shop to get a ceramic mug. The next one is washable dishes and cutlery at events. So we might not have already enough cups, plates, forks to host a party, but maybe you could put together like a party kit for yourself for each event. My family has this. We have extra forks and knives and plates that we keep in our basement for whenever we have an event. We bring those out so that we don't have to throw away. And then finally, buying in bulk. So I love, bringing snacks to work every day. You can buy them prepackaged, but those wrappers and containers usually aren't recyclable. So instead, if you could buy that snack in bulk, say you love nuts, you could buy a bunch of nuts and then put them in reusable containers and kind of prep them for yourself. The next tip is reducing food waste. So one of the number one things we get in the landfill is food waste. When you waste food, you're wasting the land that it took to grow that, the water, the nutrients that were pulled from the soil to grow the food, the emissions and the packaging from transportation, and your own money. So we want to save food for lots of reasons. We want to look at prevention. So how am I shopping to prevent buying food that I'm not going to use? Reimagining our leftovers to use them as much as possible, and then also composting for that food that we can't eat. So here are some food waste tips. So the first one is shopping smart, which is buying what you'll use. So meal prep. So don't buy things, don't just go to the store without a list and impulse buy. Then you might have way too much produce that you don't really have a plan for. And then also with that food that you buy, you want to store it properly. So I've attached as a download, we have a food waste store, not a food waste, a food storage guide that breaks down by category. So like bananas, onions, eggs, berries, things like that. And it tells you the best way to store them in the fridge, store them in the freezer, and then also ideas for how to reimagine it. If you have too many of that thing, how some recipes for how you could incorporate it into something that maybe you hadn't thought of. Another great tip is using your freezer as your best friend. So if you freeze something, it kind of pauses it, you know, before it goes bad. So leftovers, you could freeze them and then you could eat them later. Or prepped veggies, say you bought a bunch of peppers, you could cut up all those peppers and freeze them and then use them later in omelets or something like that. And that just kind of gives you a lot more time to use your food before it goes bad. And then one of my favorite ones is an eat me first section of your fridge. So a lot of things get lost in the back of the fridge. My family can be pretty guilty of that. But if we have a designated section to put things that we know are going to go bad soon, it can kind of bring those to attention to eat those first before going to some of those leftovers that still have a little bit more life in them. And then also we like to talk about date labels. So a lot of times people just think of an expiration date as that's it, you can't eat the food anymore. But sometimes the expiration date is just when it's best to have it leave the store, but then it still has like a week or so of life. Or maybe the date is just when it's the most fresh, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's unsafe. So we just encourage you to use your best judgment. Obviously, don't ever risk your safety or your family's safety. But if something seems okay, the date isn't always hard cut off. You can kind of look at it and see if maybe it seems like you could still eat it. And then finally, you want to optimize your leftovers. So get creative on how to reuse them. We have a bunch of recipes on our website that I'll talk about in a minute, where we have ideas for recipes for how to reuse your leftovers. And then also if you freeze them, those are nice, easy portioned meals in the future. Maybe you want to have takeout because you don't want to cook, but then you can remember, oh, I have this, you know, this leftover chili that I froze in the freezer and it's already portioned out. So do yourself some favors and make it easier on yourself. And then with storage, we want to think reusable whenever possible. So on the go, reusable Ziploc bags. These are also great for the freezer. I have an image of them here. Bringing reusable cutlery. If you know, I keep some in my car, and I know I like to go to Chipotle sometimes. I will have a fork with me. I don't have to use their fork. And then my favorite things are these bowl covers. I really like the flat ones. That I have here on the top right, but they also have the stretch ones. You could use these instead of foil or plastic wrap. And honestly, I think they're easier than trying to mess with the roll of plastic wrap and the aluminum foil, and then you just throw them in the dishwasher. And then finally, I have senior dogs that need wet food, and so we use these reusable can covers whenever they've only eaten half of the can at a time, because we used to use plastic wrap to cover the can, and now we have the reusable ones. And again, we just put these in the dishwasher. I love them. And then you can also get fabric bowl covers as well for, say, like bread or fruit or something, but they're not going to be airtight. So just, you can get these on Amazon or just at any store. You can find these for pretty cheap. And then I talked about, so we have a website called SaveMoreThanFood.org that is kind of our hub for everything food waste. So it has sections on preventing food waste, resources on how to donate food, and then resources on composting. So I have attached with the handout our food waste challenge card. That's just some things to maybe try out to reduce food waste, and then also our food storage guide. But those are all found on this website, as well as the recipes that I mentioned. So I also want to plug, this is a program that we have supported. So it is just started here in Central Ohio. It is reusable coffee cup borrowing program. So some cafes will let you bring your own coffee cup, you know, instead of getting a to-go cup, but there can be sometimes issues with sanitation. Sometimes, you know, you don't want to take in a cup that you're not sure how clean it is. So Okapi Reusables kind of try to come up with a solution for this. So if you go to any of these participating coffee shops, you can borrow one of their coffee cups that they have cleaned and sanitized, and you can take it to go. And then when you're done with the cup, you can take it back to any of the shops that participate in the program and just return it in their dish bin. And it's all like through an app. And I'm happy to talk to anybody about this more afterwards. But I have attached a flyer on it that kind of gives you some more information. These are the coffee shops that participate. It's a $10 join fee, but after that it's free. So if you go to any of these, you can borrow one of their cups if you didn't bring your own. And then my favorite part is you return the cup in the dish bin dirty. You don't have to remember to bring it home and wash it. You can leave it in your car and never have to take it home. And so I think that it makes it pretty easy. Next, I want to talk about refilleries. So there are some places here in Columbus where you can get kind of basic things refilled. So you don't have to get it in a new container every time. So I have the locations here that I personally know about, that we know about here at Sweco. If there's anywhere else in Columbus that offers refill for things, please let me know if it's not on this list. But you can get things refilled like lotion, shampoo, hand soap, dish soap. My favorite is cleaning spray. We just have a cleaning spray bottle, and then I go to rewash and I get it refilled whenever it's empty, and it's really cheap. Sometimes I'll take some mason jars to rewash and I stock up on our dish soap or our laundry soap. And then we just are able to use the same containers over and over again, and it's not that much more expensive. Sometimes it's even cheaper. But again, like, if you say, or somebody that's, gets a special shampoo that works well with your hair, that's okay. You don't have to get everything refilled. Maybe just stick with a basic thing like dish soap, something generic that doesn't really matter that much, or hand soap that you could get refilled. And it really can save up a lot of waste instead of buying new pumps and new containers every time. So one of the other things you can do is buying secondhand, of course, buying things that already exist instead of buying new things that have to be made from new resources pulled out of the ground. So it saves money and it conserves resources and reduces your impact on the environment. So I always check to see if I can thrift something first. If I'm like, oh, I kind of want a new button down. I really been wanting a button down. I'm going to check my local thrift stores first, and I'm going to check my online thrift stores first before I go buy a new one. So they have consignment shops that have really nice clothing. One of my favorite things I like to plug is REI. They have this section called Garage Sale, which is items that people have returned for really a multitude of reasons. They have, REI will let people return things after they've used them. So my favorite pair of hiking boots I bought from this REI return section. They were $100 off the original price. They are so comfortable, and they were just a little bit muddy. And it says on the tag why somebody returned them. And somebody returned them and they just said, I wore them for a hike and I just didn't really like them. But I tried them on and they fit great. So it saved me money and I was able to thrift it. So I just want to plug that. And then there's also Facebook Marketplace, FreeCycle, or Nextdoor is also a platform where people can post things that they're giving away. And then also attending or hosting a clothing swap. So Cafe Kerouac at the end of the month, I know, is having a clothing swap, which is where you bring clothes you don't want and you can leave with clothes that other people brought, and it's all for free. So that's a great way to thrift and save a lot of money. And then finally, I'm going to talk, not finally, sorry, we got more slides, but I'm going to talk about recycling. So this is what goes in the recycling bin. So if you've been on some of these webinars before, you might already be familiar, but let's just go over it again. So this, again, if you're joining from somewhere outside of Franklin County, this is for Franklin County specific. You can email me if you're not from Franklin County and I can help you find your information. But for the paper category, it's regular paper, but also like a ice cream container or a coffee cup or a soda cup. Even though they have those waxy plastic liners, that's okay. And then also we just added pizza boxes. Even if they're greasy, you can recycle pizza boxes. And then shredded paper, you want to put that in a clear bag when you recycle it so that it doesn't just become confetti everywhere. So if you put your shredded paper in a clear bag, when it goes down the recycling line, they will see that and they will put it to the side with the paper category. If you put the shredded paper in loose, it just kind of gets everywhere and mixes with everything, and it's hard to sort out. And so the next category is plastic bottles and containers. This is the most confusing category, I think, out of any of them, is the plastic. So here in Franklin County, we go by the shape. So our acceptable shapes are bottles, jugs, tubs, cups, and clamshells. So I have an example of each of those shapes here on the chart, but it doesn't just have to be these pictures. So like a milk jug is also would count, even though there's not a picture of it. Or if you've got like a tub of pretzels, it's like a taller tub, that would count as a tub shape, even though it's not on this graphic. And then clamshells is our newest one. So that's anything with a hinge. So like a plastic egg carton container that has a hinge, a berry container that counts as a clamshell, you can recycle those. And then for the plastic containers, you can leave the lids on. The rule for the lids are if it's the same kind of material, plastic on plastic, you can leave the lid on. But if it's like a paper or coffee cup, you'd want to take that lid off, and you'd want to throw the lid away in that case, because if it's by itself, the lid is too small. But I tell people don't, the lids can get really confusing. Don't worry too much about the lids, just focus on the main container. The next category is glass bottles and jars. Pretty simple, you know, wine bottles, soda bottles, pickle jar, anything like that, throw that in. You can take the lid off and recycle that separately. The metal lid will want to go be on its own, so it can be picked up as metal. Metal cans and cups, you can recycle those. Obviously a soda can or a soup cup, but also like if you get an aluminum cup, some people are switching from solo cups to aluminum cups. I didn't mention it, but party cups, like a red solo cup, is a different kind of plastic that they don't really have a good way to recycle it. So those ones are technically trash. So some people are switching to aluminum cups. Those can be recycled. And then aerosol cans, if they're empty and it's not hazardous, so like hairspray or sunscreen, those are fine. Just make sure they're empty and you can recycle them. I'm sorry if the cups are confusing. So if it's like just a regular ice drink cup, like say you get an iced coffee, you can recycle those. It's just the party solo cups that kind of like crunch and crack when you squeeze them. Those are the ones you don't want to recycle. And then our final category is cartons. Even though they're real waxy, there's still enough paper to recover. You can recycle those. And then the most important thing is to try to keep recycling loose. So you can collect recycling in a bag in your house, but just empty it out of that bag when you put it in your curbside recycling bin or in a recycling drop-off location. That way that when it goes down the conveyor belt, it can all be sorted. If the recycling is coming down in bags that they can't see inside of, it's not safe, or they don't, and the workers don't have enough time to open up those bags and see what's inside. And then on the topic of bags, we don't want plastic bags, wrap, or film in the recycling bin. They get tangled up in the machinery, they tangle up around other materials. If you want to recycle plastic bags or film, you have to take it to the grocery store, or if the Hefty Renew program, if you've heard of that, will take plastic bags, wraps, or film, because that's kind of a controlled collection. So those plastics can be recycled, but they need to be collected in a way that we can handle and that doesn't interfere with the sorting of the other materials. And the next category we don't want in the recycling is batteries, propane tanks, or anything flammable. Most if not all of the fires that we get here at the landfill, but also the recycling facility, are from batteries. So we want to dispose of those properly. We have on our website, Recycle Right, all the places you could drop off batteries for recycling. We do want you to recycle them just as a special drop off, not in your regular bin. And the next category is tanglers. That's what it sounds like. It tangles in the machinery. So even though a hanger that's metal is metal, you would think you can recycle it. That thing is going to tangle up in the conveyor belts and everything that it has to go through. So if you wanted to recycle a bunch of metal hangers, you would have to take them to be scrapped for metal. Or wires. So like this cord here, we have a picture of, that would tangle up in the machinery, but you could recycle it as e-waste at an e-waste drop-off. And then finally, styrofoam. We do not want styrofoam in the commingled recycling bin. So I talked about like batteries and electronics. These are hard to recycle materials. So these items can be recycled, but they need special handling or collection to do so properly. So we have at Oswego, we have a recycling convenience center where you can take these items for free if you're a Franklin County resident and drop them off. So some of the kind of things we take are batteries, electronics, paint, appliances, including refrigerators or freezers, string lights, yard signs. If you have a bunch of oil, say your church did a fish fry, you have a bunch of oil, or you cooked a bunch of fish at home, you could bring us that oil. Grease, light bulbs, food waste, and tires. City of Columbus also has convenience centers, but I wanted to note that they do not take all of the things that we take. So they do not take batteries or tires or refrigerated appliances. You'd have to take those to us. But they do take electronics, food waste, yard waste, scrap metal, cooking oil, and styrofoam. And when I say we take styrofoam, we're talking about big packing styrofoam. Like if you were to get a TV in the mail, or maybe your medication comes in a box with styrofoam, that's the kind you can bring. We're not talking about like the cups or the plates that have food waste on them. We just want the big pieces and not packing peanuts. So we have a resource where all of this, information is held, because it's a lot to remember. So our resource is called recycleright.org. That's our website for Franklin County. It's a Oswego website. So that's where you can answer questions like, can I recycle this? Where can I recycle this? where are the recycling locations. So we have a map of all of the regular recycling drop-off dumpsters for if you don't have recycling at your house, but also you could type in an item like batteries or appliances, and it'll show you the map of all of the drop-off locations where you could recycle those things. And then we also have resources to make recycling signs. So I attached in the handout something you could have maybe for your fridge or your home of what goes in the bin, but maybe like your church or your business or your school needs better recycling signage. We have a sign maker tool on this website where you can put in the kinds of items that you collect at that place that makes sense for wherever you're recycling, and you can print that out. And so say like you never have any soda cans, like you don't have to put soda cans on the sign, you could put something else, but it's a great resource, and I would check it out, and it's free. Also, we have compost and landfill signs. I use it often for my own purposes. And then on the topic of compost, so this can be kind of a scary thing, you know, people, oh, it's gross, maybe it smells, I don't really know what to do. But again, we want to, this is the way that we can recycle food waste. So we don't want it to go to the landfill. Nature and our earth has a great system where food can turn back into soil, and we can use that soil to grow more food and keep those nutrients circulating in our ecosystem. So we have a couple options for composting for you in Franklin County, so you can find what works for you. The first one, and I think it's the easiest, but it's not free, is a curbside subscription service. So we have a couple vendors that will do this. They will come, they will give you a bucket with a lid, and they'll come every week and pick up all of your composting and take it to be composted. So that can be food waste, but it can also be like napkins and paper towels and coffee grounds, tea bags, but also if you got like a compostable plate or a compostable fork or compostable cup somewhere, you could compost it through that service. We also have free 24/7 drop-off locations that I'll talk about in the next slide. Those also can take anything that's compostable. And then backyard composting is always an option for you. If that's something you want to start, but you're not sure, please reach out to me. I'm happy to give you more resources on how to get that started. Worm bins, this is my favorite option for composting. In my apartment, I have a worm bin, and it's really healthy, and so it doesn't smell. And that's where I put all of my compost, and then I get fresh soil from that I can use to help supplement like a garden or give away. And then also a countertop composter is an option if you've never heard of this. So it's a machine that goes on your counter. You put the food waste in it, and then whenever you run it, maybe like at night or whenever it's full, it grinds it up and it dries the food waste into this like kind of mulchy looking powder I have here on the bottom right. And then that you can store in a bucket, and you could take it to one of these drop-off locations, say like once a month. So this is what we have here in our break room. We just store up all of the kind of mulchy processed food waste, and then whenever it's full, we take it to be composted, and that just kind of buys us some time to store it for longer without it starting to smell. So this would be something you would have to buy, but it is a great option if you don't want to have to take something out all the time, but you can just but you can have that daily place to put your food scraps. So if you have any questions about these, please reach out to me. I don't have time to go into them in too much detail, but just know that these are the options that are available for you, so you don't have to throw food away. So I talked about our drop-off locations. These are free for Franklin County residents, open 24/7. This is a map of all the locations. You can find this map on our website, either recycleright.org if you search food, or SaveMoreThanFood.org has on their homepage organics drop-off locations, and they'll take you to this same map. So these will all be commercially composted, so it can take meat, dairy, bones, compostable cups, compostable forks, and anything that could biodegrade, but maybe some of those might not necessarily do well in a backyard compost, but they can be commercially composted just fine. So if you have any questions about what goes in the compost bin, the drop-offs or how it works, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer it. And then next we want to talk about fixing things. So sometimes things break, and it can be pretty easy nowadays to just buy a new one and replace it. But we want to remind people that it's best to fix that thing first and keep it usable. And so the more that we use that we already have, the less we have to take from the environment. And then it's okay to let things be a little bit imperfect sometimes. And so we have some resources for how to fix things, because sometimes you don't know how to. So there's online resources, YouTube, or there's a website called ifixit.com that has great resources, but also you could pay for a repair service. And then my favorite one is Repair Cafes. So this is something that we support. It's a community resource, it's an event where you bring items that are broken. So jewelry or your vacuum or your lamp or a music box. And we have people there that know how to fix those kinds of things at different stations, and they're free. You bring in your items and then they teach you how to fix them. They sit down with you, they fix it, you know, you fix it together. They make sure it leaves fixed, but then they try to educate you so that next time maybe you're more confident to try to fix it yourself. So this weekend on Saturday from 10 to 1 at the Tremont Library, Upper Arlington is having their repair cafe, and you do not have to live in Upper Arlington to come to this cafe. Bexley and Westerville also host events. If you want more information about those, you can reach out to me. And then also sometimes be on the lookout for mending services or workshops to try to sew clothes and give them a new life before just throwing them away and getting something new. So we have a lot of, another resource that we have is our Choose to Reuse page on sweco.org. So this is a campaign to kind of focus on reuse and reduction, aside from just recycling. So we have blogs and ideas and events on everything that is reuse oriented. So I invite you to check out that website if you've never been to it before. And then finally, one of the most important things you can do this new year with your new sustainability mindset is to share with people. So some of my favorite things to share with people as I talk about sustainability, I have some here. So reminding people that there's no like away. When you throw something away, it goes somewhere. So in Central Ohio, it comes here to the Franklin County landfill. And everything that we buy, as I said, comes from nature. A lot of times we're disconnected. We just think of things as coming from the store. But we want to remind people that before that, it did come out of the earth. Something was dug up in some way. And then also small actions add up. So good actions add up, but also bad actions add up. So I tell people sometimes they'll say, oh, it's just one bottle. Oh, it's just one plastic fork. But 1 million plus people a day think, oh, it's just one plastic fork. And then now we have multi-million plastic forks in the landfill or something like that. But on the other end, if you do a good action, like, oh, I brought my reusable cup to the coffee shop one time, if you do that every day for a year, that's a lot of cups saved. So I like to tell people you may not be solving the problem with one action, but you can avoid contributing to that issue and instead contribute to the solution. So some final action items are to vote with your dollar. So buy recycled products. That supports the recycling industry. Something can only be recycled if there is a company that is buying that material and making it out of something new. So when somebody does that and makes it out of something new, it's important that we buy that item so that business is able to continue. And then also bring sustainable swaps and ideas to your work, school, or organization. So SWECO, we have a lot of programs to help schools and businesses, churches, anything like that, start or improve their recycling or sustainability practices. So please connect with us if you want any ideas. But I also like to say, look at what you can control. So no matter what job you can have influence over the waste that's being generated. So if you are working at a, like I used to work at a grocery store, and I was a bagger, I would always, if somebody only got one item, I would ask them, oh, do you need a bag or do you want to just carry it? Instead of just defaulting to giving them a bag when it was just one item. So those are small ways that you can make a difference in every job that you have. If you want ideas, please reach out to me. I'm happy to try to think of things that you could do that wouldn't impact the way you do your job or operate in your organizations, but can make a big impact. And then finally, let us help you with your ideas. If there is something that you have been trying to solve or that is related to waste reduction, please come talk to us. It's likely that we'll be able to support you in some way or another. So that is all. I'm going to look at the questions that I have here in the chat. So the first question is about batteries. She says, he says batteries, they're everywhere now beyond normal household batteries, e-bikes, power banks, etc. Can I request more initiatives to expand drop-off locations across Central Ohio? Yes, so batteries, we have on our website across Franklin County where you can recycle batteries. That's a big issue, so I'm happy to talk to you about it later. I don't have an answer right now, but we're always happy to support you in your advocacy for more batteries recycling, because that's something that we're actively working on. So that is the only question that I have right now. In the future, if you guys have any recycling questions, please reach out to me. If you need ideas for how to reduce waste in your daily life, that's what I'm here for, and that's what I love talking about. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to end the webinar here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Okay, Amy asked, where can I recycle if I live in an apartment? So recycleright.org, our website, we have all of the drop-off locations for where you can bring your recycling. So we know that not everyone has recycling. So we have free public recycling dumpsters. We have over 50 locations throughout Franklin County. So if you go to recycleright.org and you search drop-off in the search bar, it'll take you to a map of all these locations. And then anytime during the day, you can take your recycling there and drop it off. So if there's no more questions, after that, I'll end the webinar here. And again, just reach out to me if you think of anything else.